My name's Junior Smart. I'm a recognised gang consultant in the field of serious youth violence and gangs. I've been doing this work for about 14 years now. I've been involved and heavily invested in the work of violence assistance. That's violence in all its forms. Every single young person matters to me. The youth is my passion. In the time I've been doing this work, I've been working with a wide variety of families and caregivers, from the family that knows absolutely nothing. We've got to be real. These young people live dualistic lifestyles, so they're one person outside of the home, they're another person inside of the home, they're another person again when they're with their group of friends. And the reality is, when we talk about gangs, co-offending groups, serious youth violence, the dynamic is always changing. And if agencies were being completely honest with themselves, they too get a bit stumped when it comes to the networks, the complexity of gangs. The young kids live by this no snitch culture, which means they say nothing to adults, nothing to authority, and they're going to be very reticent to ask for help. So where does this video come into play? I've been fielding a lot of calls both this weekend and the last, because there's a real need out there. Families are concerned, caregivers are concerned. Every single day there's been multiple incidents, multiple killings, and 8 weeks holiday is upon us. The schools have broken up, and as you would expect, employers don't give their employees that time off. So there's been a lot of worry, a lot of concerns about what to be done and what should people be looking out for. This video isn't there to be critical or tell anyone how to be a better parent. That's not what this is about. But whenever I'm working with families, there's always 5 key questions that I'm asking them before we do any work, because at the end of the day, these 5 key questions kind of like form the basis. If any of these 5 key questions apply to you, then this is something for you to explore. Don't take it to heart, but actually everyone's in the same boat. So these 5 key questions are there to help you concentrate your efforts, see what's missing and see what needs to be improved. Let's get it started. The first key question: do you know where your child is? Now, I know this question might seem obvious to you, but this is a real big thing that keeps coming up time and time again when I'm working with families. Now, we have to be real. Children lie. Children lie. They lie about where they are. Where you think they might be, they might not be. Often when kids end up in pupil referral units or excluded from mainstream education, parents in that time, they're always working. I mean, we've got to be real. Millions of families are in poverty, 0-hour contracts. Everyone's out there trying to keep a roof over their head. When I'm talking to a young person, I say to them, actually, do you know what your mum does all day, or do you know what your dad does all day? 9 times out of 10, the young kids will tell me, yeah, they're working all the hours God sends because they want to keep a roof over our heads. Yeah, that's the reality of it. But the key question, why this one always comes up for me when I'm talking to families, is, do you know where they are? Because you might think they're at school, they're not at school. When you're working and the schools are broken up, do you know where they are? So on to question number 2. Do you know who your child is with? Now, this is another one that seems kind of basic, but trust me, this is a very real question. Do you know who your child's friends are? As my mum used to say to me, show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. Have you met your child's friends? All of them. Have they been to the house? Have you spoken to them? How did they present? Were they materialistic? Did they seem easily led? What kind of influence do you think that their attitudes may have on your son or daughter? And is that okay with you? This is a big, massive key question. And have you listened in to the conversations that they've had with your son or daughter or child in your care? Is your child liked by the group, or are they the ones that are being kind of ostracised? This all plays into bigger things later, because if a child feels that actually they have to get the approval of their peer group because their peer group kind of ostracises them, that's going to make it harder for them to make stronger choices later on. When everyone around them, for example, is telling them, no, do this thing, they're going to actually have the guts and emotional resilience to say, no, actually that's not for me. Okay, on to question number 3. Do you know where your child is going? Now, again, big big question here. There's the physical, there's the mental, there's the online space. Let's tackle these one at a time. The physical space, like, do you know where your child is going? Like, have you been there? Do you know what's going on? I was thinking back a couple of weeks, there's a young kid that I'm working with, so he's like heading down to the park, you know, which is about 10 minutes away. Now I took it upon myself to actually go to that space. I know that sounds mad to some of you, but actually it was a nice open space. But the first thing I did is I started looking under bushes. Why? Because I know full well that people hide knives there. This space is alien to me. I need to know what this space is about. Is it a thoroughfare? You know, does it lead between estates or communities? Like, who congregates in that space? Because I don't know who they are, and I need to know. That's got to be my business to know. I'm talking to the kid, like, again, asking them, do you know how to stay safe and all of that stuff. I need to make sure that we've got communication going. But yeah, I scanned the place, I went there, I checked it out, I even hung about for a little while. That's the kind of thing that you need to do. It's not good enough to hear like, oh well, he's playing down the road with some of his friends. Like, that's not good enough. You need to go there. What is in that space? What's that space saying? Equally, just don't leave it there. Ask as many questions as you can. Like, check it out, and check it out on more than one time, because the dynamics of an environment change all the time. Okay, so the second space we've got to look at is the online space. Now this is the one that most adults struggle to deal with, because what it boils down to is when they think back, they think of the big chunky computer system that would be sitting in the front room that everyone can see what's going on. They think about the households where, do you remember we used to have the phone in the house that everyone would hear the conversations that were going on? But we're talking about now a time where that mobile phone in your pocket has actually got more computing power than the computers that sent the rocket ships to the moon. The reality is now the internet has opened up this super massive highway which is just full of information. Communities are closer, but at the same time actually they're more isolated. You only have to look at what's been happening over the last 5-10 years and you'll realise that more kids now are more self-conscious than ever before. We've got self-harm, we've got obesity, we've got poor emotional well-being health, and then on top of that we've got videos flying around of young people getting stabbed, shot. If you knew what I could see online, you would be astounded. And every time I run a training session with parents, they're dumbfounded by the sort of things that their son or daughter would be exposed to. The online space is really important because it's unregulated, it's unpoliced, and with that comes with its own dangers. What always surprises me is whenever I speak to a young person, I say to them, do you know how to stay safe online? Yeah, of course I do. And they proceed to spit out what they've been told by adults, which is, don't accept gifts from strangers, don't arrange to meet anyone online, don't talk to people you don't know. But when I've spoken to young people and you playing it out in their reality, of course they're talking to people they don't know. They're talking to people on apps that they don't know. Even in a basic computer game, you're going to be sitting in a lobby, there'll be people there that they don't know and they're communicating all the time. And equally, they might be sharing pictures, and the pictures are giving away some serious detail about where they are, where they live and how old they are. And they're giving that away to complete strangers. And if you see how some of these groups manipulate this stuff, it is very, very scary. But if you speak to most adults, they think that's only happening in the dark web. Like, actually, the reality is completely different. And again, I give parents the benefit of the doubt because there are so many apps out there, it's impossible to stay on point. Like, how are you supposed to even know what app is which? Yeah? Now, here's the deal. You need to know this. You need to make it your business to know if you're a parent or a caregiver. You need to make it your business to sit down with your son or your daughter and you need to check out some of these apps. And equally, you need to do some homework on the sort of apps that are out there. There's many different apps and many websites that explain what the apps are used for and the concerns that there are around them. You need to know about this online space because more so than just a kid using an app that an adult finds unsuitable is the fact that actually the third space, which is the mental space, You know, because online now you can create fake identities, you can troll people, you can abuse them dramatically. I've even seen adults that have been abused online. And you're speaking to a young person, I just simply say, no, block them. And the kid's like, no, I don't want to block that person. Like, it's almost like they're scared of doing something that actually will save them in the long run, because who would want friends that are around them that abuse them? But again, young people don't see it that way. We're living in a generation where social capital is everything, being liked is everything. So you need to make it your business to know not only the apps that they're using, but what spaces are they going into online. And you need to be having those kind of conversations with your young person so that actually they know how to report stuff. If they see stuff that's shocking, or if anyone starts threatening them online, or if anyone says they're going to harm them or share images of them. Because again, in my experience, I'm working with a lot of young females that have shared images, but they didn't really want to, they felt pressurised or whatever else. And then another person gets hold of those images and they're using it to blackmail that girl. And actually, all that's missing is a conversation between them and an adult, but an adult that they feel can protect them. If you're that adult, if you're that caregiver, then if you make it your business, if you're having those open conversations, then for real, you're going to be able to help. Okay, so let's move on to the fourth key question now. Do you know what your child is doing? This, again, is a big key question for us. I've spoken to so many families that have said they've found traces of white powder on the table or in the kitchen or in their child's bedroom, but why would they think it's anything other than talcum powder or dust? No one's asking any questions, no one's going into their room, no one's turning it over. And for some families, actually we've had to create a cultural shift. I've had to advise that family, listen, right, from now on, you need to let your son or daughter know that you're going to turn over their room whenever the hell you feel like it. Yeah, because their situations have gotten that bad. But what that means is, think about it, for that child's got an immediate way out. If somebody says to him, hey fam, listen, do me a favour, look after this bag or look after this coat or hide this stuff from mum, listen, the first thing that child's going to say is, it's no point, mum or dad's always checking my room. If they find stuff, they'll flush it, blah, blah, blah. It gives an immediate way out. But if you're not even going into the room and checking stuff out, then you won't even have a point of call of asking questions. I've worked with loads of families that have said to me like, oh yeah, Johnny, we found some train tickets. He's got loads of friends that live down in Kent. No one's asking any questions about it. But yet still, when you understand it the way I do, you understand that actually that could be county lines activity, that kid could be drug running, but no one's asking any of the questions. Do you know what your child is doing? Do you know why they're doing what they're doing? And if the answer to that is no, then this is something that you need to explore. Okay. On to the fifth key question now. Yeah? How connected are you with organisations that can help you? This is a big key thing. Often when I'm working with families, they feel that they're dealing with things on their own, that no one's there to help or support them, and then they become dumbfounded when I'm showing them that actually there's loads of organisations out there, many of which are just a few clicks away, some of them are just a couple of phone calls away, that can actually help them and give them advice, you know, and there's loads. I could probably post a whole video on the organisations that are out there doing different work in this field, but you've got St Giles Trust, SOS, Catch-22, the Children's Society, ChildNet, the list goes on and on. And equally, for the young people, did you know that Childline have got a dedicated gangs worker online at all times? They can actually call up the number and get that help for the girls. We've got Women's Aid, Abianda, Empower, the list goes on and on and on. And then on top of that, if a young person is worried or got concerns, and you know, they feel that they're in a situation that's out of control, there are anonymous ways of reporting. So you have got Fearless. Project Fearless is massive, you know, it protects children, allows them to make disclosures. Okay, so there are 5 key questions that I put out there to any family or caregivers that have got worries or concerns about the young people in their care. This list isn't exhaustive, but this is a starting point. And what I wanted to say to you is that nothing undermines the fact that you know your child better than anyone else. You're the first point of call if anything changes. But the most important thing to remember is that you cannot deal with it by yourself. There are loads of agencies out there that can help and support you. These groups, they operate in isolation. They're dependent on families and the young people staying silent, and we need to change that. Get communicating with other families, and don't be afraid of challenging them. Don't be afraid of challenging organisations, but don't be afraid equally of challenging the young people on what they're doing, because we have to be living in a situation where we see every child as our own. Only that way will we see changes. But I want to wish you the very best in your endeavours, and I hope this video is useful. Until next time.